Hey, yo, what up, nerds? It is your host, your champ, your podcast host, and your champ, your podcast host and your champ, Tuanon, coming at you live from my hotel room in Vero Beach, and welcome to your week one preview show. This is not going to be a long, drawn-out show. I was supposed to have Lur with me. It would have been a little bit longer, but for just, time's sake, because we do have the Chiefs and the Ravens coming up here very shortly, we're just going to be going through the week one matchups, key players in each matchup, as well as overall projections. So it's really exciting to be back with you guys for this show again this year. I'm going to be doing a lot of really cool things between live streams, trade reactions, and just continuing to do the weekly recap show with myself and Lur. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into the week one preview. So welcome to your 2024 league year, everybody. Let's go ahead and get going. So the first matchup that we're going to be starting off with is the newly named Mile High Honchos against the Lamborghini High. So it's Riles against Dylan. So this matchup right now is slated to go in favor of Dylan, 121.26 against Riley's 116.96. So, let's take a look at some key players from each team. I am going to go ahead off the cuff and say that CJ Stroud is just going to be an overall key player for Riley this season. That is going to be Riley's starting quarterback. I don't have any projections on the website right now for CJ Stroud for this week, but just with the way that the Texans are projected to kind of, kick up a little bit this year, I think that having CJ Stroud is really going to kind of I don't want to say make or break his season, because there's still some really good quarterbacks available in the free agent market and on waiver wire. But that'll be a really big part for him. In addition, Bijan Robinson as well. Bijan Robinson. I think that that's going to be a huge pickup for him in terms of just an overall new look offense in Atlanta with Kirk Cousins, as well as the addition of a new offensive coordinator. So those two players for this week for Rye, I think are going to be very, very crucial. And then on the other side, in terms of Dylan, I love the additions of Devon Achane and Anthony Richardson. So Anthony Richardson, truthfully, was going to be my quarterback pick if I was unable to get Jalen Hurts, because I love the way that they're essentially saying that he could potentially play, right? He's going to have a lot of the same characteristics as Jalen Hurts, bigger body. He can throw the ball, but I think that it's going to be his mobility that's really going to carry him this season. And of course, Achane from the Dolphins is just a speedster. Now, we know that Mostert got the majority of the carries last year, who was the bell cow, got a lot of touches in the red zone. But Achane was also hurt a lot, so that's another concern. But if both of those players can really kind of keep it going, I think that those are going to be two key additions to this roster. And then, of course, you have Puka Nacua and CeeDee Lamb, which are just going to be steady Eddies the entire season. So from the Lamborghini High and Mile High Honchos, that matchup is favored to go in terms of Dylan, 121 to 116. Let's move on over to Virgin Olave Oil and Feed Jeffrey Spirits. That is going to be Alejandro and Mike. So that one is actually going to be super close in favor of Feed Jeffrey Spirits, 119 to the Virgin Olave Oil, 117. So let's take a look at some few impact players from this matchup over here. Starting with Virgin Olave Oil, Chris Olave and Josh Allen are going to be two really key parts of this roster. I think Saquon Barkley is going to get a lot of great red zone touches. Honestly, taking away from my guy Jalen Hurts in the red zone, I got that little information just talking to Rye a little while ago, and it made a lot of sense. So I think Saquon Barkley is going to be a nice addition there. And then obviously Josh Allen does Josh Allen things. If he stays true and doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, I think that could be a really key component for Virgin Olave Oil for this week and moving forward. Now going over to Feed Jeffy Spirits, I'm looking at it here. Kyle Pitts is tight end. I think Kyle Pitts is going to have a big season, just like what I said for Bijan Robinson, new offensive coordinator, new starting quarterback. I think that they're finally going to figure out how to use Kyle Pitts in this offense. Could be a potential red zone target. Going to be getting a lot of receptions, I believe. I don't know. I'm not a fantasy guy. I just come here and report what I hear and talk about names on screens. That's all I do. But Kyle Pitts is going to be a huge reason why this team makes some noise, right? But obviously we've got Alvin Kamara and Lamar Jackson going to be leading the way for this team moving forward. But in terms of week one, this matchup is favored to go in the way of Feed Jeffy Spirits, 119 to Virgin Olave Oil, 117. All right, next matchup we have going is the St. Louis Shit Stains, and that is Cam against Breezy's Pieces, and that is Commissioner Yitler. That is Tyler. So let's go ahead and take a look at the scores here. Again, another one that's literally coming right down to the wire, and this one is favored to go over to the St. Louis Shit Stains 115.64 to Breezy's Pieces 115.38. That's not a lot of wiggle room. These teams are very evenly matched. I think this could be a really exciting matchup to watch coming into week 1. So let's take a look at some key players here. So in terms of the St. Louis Shit Stains, A.J. Brown and Joe Burrow, I think those are going to be really key pieces for this team. I'm not big on Jonathan Taylor because of what Jonathan Taylor has done for me in the past in terms of fantasy. I don't know what his outlook is this year, but since I've been burned on Jonathan Taylor, he is a nothing burger for me. Not happy there. But we can't say enough about Joe Burrow and A.J. Brown, right? Now, we do have Malik Neighbors, who is a newcomer, and we have him in the flex on this roster. I do think Daniel Jones throwing to Malik Neighbors could be something very special, but the Giants just ain't shit. So I wouldn't really be expecting all that much from him. It's really tough when you have a rookie that is supposed to be one of the best players on the team. Just goes to show you that that team is in rebuild mode, right? So just some impact players to be looking for from the St. Louis Shit Stains for this particular week. And then moving over to the commish, Reese's Pieces. I'm a big fan of Isaiah Pacheco. We all know that from my run last year to the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl, champ. Pacheco, angry runs. When you give him the ball, and we're going to be watching him a little bit here on NBC, I think that he just gets things done, and it's violent. So that is a good pickup for him. Excited to see what he does this year. I'm a big fan of his after what he did for me last season. Devontae Smith for Philly, another big one here. But I believe one of his early picks was Breece Hall. First round pick for him. Going to be interesting to see if he can stay healthy this year. So if he stays healthy, I think Breece Hall is going to be a really key part to our commissioner potentially, being in the conversation, right? I don't know how I would rate this roster on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm not overly excited about this roster for Tyler. Kyler Murray being a starting quarterback, not exactly the best, right? But we all know this league does value running back and wide receiver over anything. I know some of you guys didn't even take quarterbacks until the later rounds this year. So we'll have to see how this one goes. But this matchup is going to be coming right down to the wire. Really, really fun to watch. 115 to 115 in favor of the St. Louis Shit Stains. All right, moving on to the next one. We're going to be having Leopold Chasington the fourth against the Buttfuckers. That is Joey versus Blake. Blake is projected to have a 10-point margin in this matchup, 121 to Joey's 111. So let's take a look here. Blake did have the first overall pick, with his first overall pick being CMC, who is listed as questionable. If McCaffrey stays healthy, which I do think that he will, he's going to just absolutely destroy fantasy this year. We know how Christian McCaffrey works. Really, really important part to this roster if he does want to make a Super Bowl run, which looking at this roster here, I think it's one of the best built rosters in the entire league. Prescott, Henry, McCaffrey, Adams, Diggs, Kelsey, Keenan Allen, Brandon Aubrey, and then the Browns defense. That starting lineup is absolutely nasty. But without a doubt, the most impactful player in that starting lineup is going to be Christian McCaffrey. It's going to be interesting to see how Travis Kelsey rebounds from, I don't want to say a down year last year, but definitely not the production that we're used to seeing from Travis Kelsey. But Derrick Henry could also be a really big part of this team too. Moving over from, I think, Tennessee last year to the Ravens this year, going to be, again, playing on Thursday Night Football in a little bit here. So really interested to see what happens with that. Clearly, that's why he has a 10-point spread in terms of this game tonight against Leopold Chasington IV. So let's talk about that team for a second. You always got to be aware of Patty Mahomes. He does his thing. He's an absolute wizard with the ball. So Patrick Mahomes is going to be by far and away like one of the best players on this roster, along with Jamar Chase. That's going to be a super key piece. And again, I'm really impressed with this lineup as well. I think it's a solid roster from top to bottom, very well constructed, very balanced. So these two teams, I would probably put them in the watch list for the Super Bowl moving forward. I really do like the Buttfuckers a lot this year. I think it's going to be interesting to see how they go. from the first round pick, really well constructed. So like last season, I was kind of, slobbing on Joey's knob the entire season. I think I might be doing that with Blake this year because I love this roster. I'm roster baiting. I think it's fantastic. So let's move on to the final matchup of this. It's going to be my matchup. So we have Tuanon against the Broward Beefcakes. And this is in favor of myself right now, 119 to 113 over RJ. So I don't really need to talk about my roster that much. You guys know I took Jalen Hurts with the third round pick, because I love that guy. I think I have a solid roster. I'm going to leave that up for you guys to talk about. But I do think Jalen Hurts is going to be one of my impact players. Tyreek Hill was my 1-1. Technically first round, second pick. I think that he's going to be a game breaker. We all know how he works if we're Dolphins fans. But of course, I got to have my Young Ho on the roster. Got my Young Ho on the kicker for the kicking slot. I'm excited. I think I can make a run at the championship again this year. I'm not saying I'll win it. All I'm saying is to expect me. I'm happy with winning it last year. But Jalen Hurts, Tyreek Hill, going to be two of my most impact players. Now moving over to the other team, the Broward Beefcakes for RJ. Jordan Love is really projected to be up this year a lot. I do like Jordan Love here on this team, but I would probably have to say Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's going to be the most impactful player for him. And Raheem Mostert getting the starting slot for running back. That's going to be a nice little addition there because he led the league in touchdowns last year. I think he might have a little bit of a drop-off this year. I don't know. I hope not. Being a Dolphins fan, I hope that's not true. But I am really excited about this lineup. Then he's got Jalen Waddle in his flex as well. So that'll wrap up the week 1 preview. I kept it short, sweet. We're under 15 minutes. Good luck to everybody this week. Hoping next week, Laura and I can hop on the sticks to do the week 1 recap, week 2 preview. So be on the lookout for that one. And good luck this week. Peace out.